Hello friends, welcome back in this video session of medicinal chemistry. So we were discussing about the drug metabolism, which is also referred as biotransformation. So in the previous session we have discussed all reactions under phase 1, which are also referred as the functionalization reaction. So in this phase 1, usually the functionality is generated to convert the lipophilic drug into hydrophilic drug, or sometimes the functionality is exposed to undergo the phase 2 reactions. Now in today's session we will be discussing mainly about the phase 2 reactions. So phase 2 reactions are also referred as the synthetic or conjugation reaction. So mainly we can see in these phase 2 reactions the conjugates are getting formed, and these conjugates are either for converting active drug to their inactive metabolite or for getting more hydrophilic metabolite so that it can be eliminated from the body. So these are the various reactions which we are discussing in today's session. Glucuronidation, which is also referred as glucuronic acid conjugation, then sulfate conjugation, conjugation with glycine, glutamine and other amino acids, glutathione or mercapturic acid conjugation, acetylation, and finally the methylation. So we'll see the introduction of these phase 2 reactions. So these phase 2 reactions are mainly considered to be the truly detoxifying pathways in the drug metabolism. So why these are considered as truly detoxifying pathways? Because in phase 1 reaction, most of the times the drug is not getting converted to the sufficiently hydrophilic metabolite, or it will not be pharmacologically inactive. So we need to convert them into a sufficiently hydrophilic metabolite, or we need to convert the active compound into its inactive metabolite once its therapeutic action is over. So such metabolites we can convert in this phase 2 reactions. So we introduce more polar and water soluble functionalities into these metabolites which have been formed in phase 1. By conjugation we introduce these functionalities. So this is mainly achieved by introducing small polar and ionizable endogenous molecules which are present in our body, like glucuronic acid, then sulfate, glycine and glutamine. So these are the endogenous molecules which will be introduced into the metabolites which are formed by phase 1, and they will be converted into the conjugates of these. And these conjugated metabolites or products, they are relatively more water soluble and hence they can be easily excretable. And because they are not getting accumulated, as they are getting excreted, then there will not be any toxicity of these kinds of active or not sufficiently hydrophilic metabolites. So that's why this particular phase 2 reactions are considered as truly detoxifying pathways. Other reactions under phase 2, especially the acetylation and methylation, so these are the reactions which mainly inactivate the drug into its inactive metabolite. So we have the active metabolite which have been formed in phase 1, or directly the drug which we are consuming, that is active, and with the phase 2 reaction itself it will be converted into its inactive metabolite, and this will actually prevent the damage of our important biomacromolecules. Otherwise they will react to our nucleic acids or proteins, and they will create a serious toxicity to our body. So this is the figure through which we can summarize the phase 1 and phase 2 reaction. So in phase 1 reaction, what is usually happening? Phase 1 reaction can convert the drug or the substrate into its corresponding hydrophilic metabolite, which can be eliminated from the body. Sometimes phase 1 reaction expose the functionality of the substrate or the drug, and it will convert the drug into its metabolite which may not be sufficiently hydrophilic. So here we need to convert them into sufficiently hydrophilic metabolite, and this will be done by the phase 2 reaction. So in phase 2 reaction, what we do, we have the endogenous substances in our body. So these are the endogenous substances: glucuronic acid, which is usually more abundant in the body than sulfate, glycine and glutamine. So these endogenous substances can form a conjugate or complex with these in with these metabolites, right? And they can form a corresponding conjugate, and these corresponding conjugates now becomes sufficiently hydrophilic, and these can be eliminated from the body. Sometimes the metabolites formed are relatively hydrophilic, but they are active. So these active metabolites should be converted to its inactive metabolite, so that their therapeutic action will be minimized or it will be nullified, and then it can be eliminated from the body. So this is usually done in phase 2 by acetylation or methylation reaction. So phase 2 reaction have two roles. One, that is converting the metabolites which are formed in phase 1 or directly the drugs into their hydrophilic metabolites, and the second is converting the active metabolite or drugs into its inactive metabolites. So first type of reaction under phase 2, that is glucuronic acid conjugation. So this glucuronic acid conjugation is also referred as the glucuronidation, and this is the most common conjugative pathway in the drug metabolism. The reason behind this is, this glucuronic acid is more abundantly and readily available in the body as D-glucuronic acid. Second reason is, many functionality of our substrate or the drugs, they can easily combine enzymatically with this glucuronic acid, and they can form a conjugate of this. And third reason is, the form conjugate has very good water solubility, so that it can be easily eliminated. So these are the three reasons which makes glucuronic acid conjugation as most common for the metabolism for most of the drugs. So this is the structure of glucuronide, and you can see in this structure, this particular carbon 1 is actually responsible for forming and conjugate with the drug substrate. So based on what atom of the substrate or the drug it is getting conjugated, that will decide the type of conjugation. So if the oxygen atom of the drug is getting conjugated with this glucuronide of first position, then we can refer that as a oxygen glucuronide. Similarly, if the nitrogen atom of the drug or the xenobiotic is getting conjugated with the glucuronide, we refer it as a nitrogen glucuronide. And then similarly we can have the sulfur glucuronide and the carbon glucuronide. So these are the types of conjugation based on what atom is getting conjugated with the glucuronide. And hydroxyls and carboxy functionality, they usually form the oxygen glucuronides. The reason behind this is, hydroxyl and carboxyl functionality have oxygen in their structure, and that's why they can have the oxygen conjugated with the glucuronide, and that we refer it as a oxygen glucuronide. Now because of this reason, phenolic and alcoholic hydroxyls are the most common functionalities which undergoes the glucuronidation in the drug metabolism pathways. So we'll discuss in detail one by one, and we'll see several examples of each of these type. So the first is a oxygen glucuronide, which is usually happening in the hydroxyl compound because of the oxygen availability. So we have a phenols, for example acetaminophen. Now in this acetaminophen structure, you can see the hydroxyl group. So the oxygen atom of this hydroxyl group can easily conjugate with the glucuronide, and it will form the O-glucuronide or the oxygen glucuronide. Then we have alcohols, for example trichloroethanol. You can see the hydroxyl functionality here. Then we have the enols, that is 4-hydroxycoumarin. Then we have the N-hydroxyl amides, for example N-hydroxyl 2-acetaminophenone. So this is the structure, have the hydroxyl functionality. And N-hydroxylamine, for example N-hydroxydapsone. So all these structures can easily form oxygen glucuronide due to easy availability of D-glucuronic acid. Then this oxygen glucuronide can happen with the compounds containing the carboxyl functionality, which have the carboxylic acid functionality in their structure. So these compounds could be aryl acids or it could be aryl alkyl acids. So benzoic acid is an example of aryl acid which have the carboxyl functionality, and one of the oxygen here can combine or form conjugate with the glucuronic acid. Similarly, you can see the naproxen is an example of aryl alkyl acid, which is again a popular drug, and this will be metabolized into its O-glucuronide conjugate. So the carboxylic acid is getting conjugated with the glucuronide. Second type is the nitrogen glucuronide. So I told you the nitrogen atom of the substrate or the drug is getting conjugated with the glucuronic acid. So we have many drugs in medicinal chemistry which have the nitrogen atom in their structure. For example, the aryl amines, we have the 7-amino 5-nitroindazole, and you can see the amino functionality here. So this can form a conjugate with the glucuronic acid. Then we have the alkyl amines, desipramine, again it has the NH functionality here. Then amides, for example meprobamate, again there is a amino functionality here. And then sulfonamides, for example sulfixazole. There are many sulfonamides which have this NH functionality. I have listed few here. And then ternary amines or this tertiary amine which have the tertiary nitrogen here, that is cyproheptadine, which can also form a conjugate with the glucuronide in the form of N-glucuronide or the nitrogen glucuronide. Then the third type is the sulfur glucuronide. So where the sulfhydryl group is getting conjugated with the glucuronic acid. So such example is methimazole, again a popularly used drug, can have the sulfhydryl functionality, and this will be conjugated with the glucuronic acid. Then we have a propyl thiouracil which can also form a conjugate with the glucuronic acid in the form of S-glucuronide conjugate. And then finally the carbon glucuronide, for example in 3,5-pyrazolidine dione we have a drug phenylbutazone. So you can see here the phenylbutazone. So this particular carbon atom is getting conjugated with the carbon 1 of this glucuronic acid, and then this is forming a conjugate which we can refer it as a C-glucuronide metabolite or C or carbon glucuronide conjugate, which becomes more water soluble and that can be easily eliminated from the body. So this is all about the glucuronic acid conjugation, which is most common in most of the drugs bearing the functionalities what we have discussed. Now second is the sulfate conjugation. Now the sulfate conjugation mainly occurs in the phenolic compounds, and sometimes we can also observe in compounds bearing alcoholic, aromatic amine and N-hydroxy functionality. This can also undergo this sulfate conjugation. Now when we compare this sulfate conjugation with that of the glucuronic acid conjugation, the amount of sulfate as an endogenous substance available in the body is very less. So therefore the sulfate conjugation metabolism is not as that of the glucuronic acid conjugation. The sulfate conjugation process needs the activation of this inorganic sulfate as an endogenous substance. So we can summarize with this particular uh, flow diagram, inorganic sulfate which is present in our body will be activated and it will be converted into this particular active form of sulfate by this coenzyme, which we refer it as 3-phosphoadenosine 5-phosphosulfate. And once this is activated by this coenzyme, the sulfate group, sulfate atom, will be transferred by the enzyme sulfotransferase enzyme to the substrate. So you can see the activated, first what we are doing, we are activating the sulfate which is present in your body by this coenzyme, and once it is activated, the activated sulfate moiety will be transferred to the drug or the substrate, and that will form a sulfate conjugate which will become more water soluble. So we have an example of alpha methyl dopa. Alpha methyl dopa have the hydroxyl functionality, and this hydroxyl functionality can form a conjugate with the sulfate, and we refer this as the 3O sulfate conjugate. O is for oxygen of this hydroxyl group which is getting conjugated with the sulfate, and this oxygen or hydroxyl group is at third position, so that's why we have written it as 3O sulfate conjugate. Similarly, we can write it for the salbutamol also. Okay, so the hydroxyl group is getting conjugated with the sulfate, and as I told you, this is most common, sulfate conjugation metabolism is most common in the phenolic compounds, and these are the phenolic hydroxyl groups, and that's why this is happening here. Then we have another example of acetaminophen. So in the earlier glucuronic acid conjugation, we have seen the acetaminophen or the hydroxyl group can easily undergo the glucuronidation, so it can form a O-glucuronide conjugate. O-glucuronide conjugate. So you can see here hydroxyl group is conjugating with the glucuronic acid. So this is most common. However, to some extent, the acetaminophen can convert into or oxygen sulfate conjugate also, O sulfate conjugate also, right? So because we have seen the amount of sulfate as an endogenous substance compared to the glucuronic acid is less, that's why O glucuronide conjugate metabolite will be formed in more quantity, though the orthosulfate conjugate is also getting formed. So this is also one of the way by which acetaminophen can get metabolized into its sulfate conjugate. Then the third is the conjugation with the glycine, glutamine and other amino acids. So compounds containing carboxylic acids used glycine and glutamine conjugation for their metabolism. Glycine conjugation is most common in mammals, whereas the glutamine conjugation is confined or limited only to the humans. The quantity of such conjugates with drugs in the body is very minute due to the limited availability of the amino acids in the body. So unlike glucuronic acid and sulfate, then glycine and glutamine, they are not converted to the activated coenzymes. So we have seen the earlier metabolic pathways, they need the activation, and this activation was done usually by the coenzymes, but in this case they doesn't require such activation. Instead, the carboxylic acid functionality of the drug or the substrate will get activated by the adenosine triphosphate and coenzyme A, and this will form an acyl CoA complex which in turn conjugate with the substrate. So you can see here the example of phenyl acetic acid, this is getting activated. So carboxylic acid functionality of the drug itself is getting activated rather than activation of the endogenous substance like in glucuronic acid or the sulfate conjugation, and then it is getting form an acyl CoA intermediate, and then this acyl CoA intermediate can react with the glycine or glutamine with the help of this N-acetyl transferase, and it will form the glycine conjugate or the glutamine conjugate, right, which will become more water soluble and then it will be eliminated. Similarly, we have other examples: aromatic acids and aryl alkyl acids. So these are the major substrate which undergo the metabolism by this glycine conjugation. So benzoic acid can undergo the glycine conjugation to form its metabolite as hippuric acid, and salicylic acid can also undergo the glycine conjugation to form the salicylic acid. Then the next type of reaction or metabolism in phase 2, that is GSH or mercapturic acid conjugate. So this is the most important pathway again in this phase 2, because it detoxifies the chemically reactive electrophilic compounds, which if they are not getting metabolized, they will be very serious to our body as they are toxic to our cellular proteins and nucleic acids. So if they are not getting metabolized, they will react with the proteins and nucleic acids and they will cause the cytotoxicity to these. So this GSH, it will protect these proteins and nucleic acids from this kind of toxicity by reacting with these drugs which is having the toxicity, right? And this will form the S substituted GSH adduct. So this GSH adduct will get converted into its corresponding mercapturic acid derivative, which can be easily eliminated. So you can see here the GSH is acting on the electrophile, right? So this is the substrate, right? And on this substrate the GSH will attack. So the sulfhydryl group, to be precise, is attacking on this, right? And then it will form the GSH adduct. So this is referred as a GSH adduct, and this GSH adduct can be converted into a mercapturic acid derivative. So here in this drug or the substrate, this X represents the electronegative atoms. So it could be bromo, chloro, or iodo, or sulfate, sulfonates, or organophosphates, and so on. Okay. So this is how we can summarize the GSH or mercapturic acid conjugates. So glutathione or GSH will react with the electrophilic substrate, which I have indicated here as E. So the sulfhydryl group, you can see here the sulfhydryl group will attack on the electrophile of the substrate, which otherwise will be toxic to your nucleic acids and proteins. So it is attenuating the electrophile of the substrate by forming the glutathione adduct or the conjugate, and this transfer of sulfhydryl group to the electrophile, or the attack of sulfhydryl group towards the electrophile, will be done by the glutathione S transferase enzyme, which is soluble in nature. And then once it transfer the sulfhydryl group, it will form a glutathione adduct or the conjugate, and then this conjugate can be converted into its corresponding mercapturic acid derivative, which usually bearing the carboxylic acid functionality, so making them more water soluble, and then it can be eliminated, toxicity can be minimized. And this converting the glutathione adduct conjugate to the mercapturic acid derivative will be done by the renal and hepatic microsomal enzymes. So this is about the GSH or mercapturic acid conjugate. One such example of this mercapturic acid derivative is the acetaminophen. So sometimes these metabolic oxidative biotransformation, it may generate the reactive alpha beta unsaturated system, which we can see here in N-acetyl imidoquinone. There is a generation of alpha beta unsaturated system. We can see the saturation in the ring system, and this will react with the GSH here, right? And then GSH adduct will be converted by the microsomal enzymes to the corresponding mercapturic acid derivative, which will become more water soluble. So this is all about the GSH and mercapturic acid derivative and its conjugation. So whatever we have discussed in phase 2 now, so that is all about the detoxification and mainly converting the metabolites into their hydrophilic metabolites, right. Now acetylation is the chemical reaction. Now in this case the drugs bearing primary amino group, so what these could be: aromatic amines, sulfonamides, hydrazines, hydrazides, primary aliphatic amines which have the primary amino group. So this primary amino group can be acetylated. So there is a acetyl CoA enzyme which will transfer the acetyl group to this amino group, and then it will form the corresponding acetylated metabolite, and this corresponding acetylated metabolite is usually inactive, right. So these drugs are therapeutically active, but because of the acetylation they have been converted from active form to their inactive form, right. And because of their inactive they will be now non-toxic to the body. So here we should keep in mind, after acetylation the metabolite is not sufficiently hydrophilic because the acetylation doesn't improve the hydrophilicity of any drug. So this is not the metabolite which is sufficiently hydrophilic. This is mainly for converting active drug into their inactive form. So we have an example of clonazepam. So we have already discussed this clonazepam biotransformation to its 7 amino metabolite in phase 1 reaction. So the nitro is converted to the amino in the phase 1 reaction. Now this is what we can consider as exposing the functionality. So nitro as such cannot undergo the biotransformation in phase 2, but amino can easily undergo biotransformation in phase 2. So therefore in phase 1 we are exposing nitro functionality in the form of amino, and then amino functionality can get easily acetylated. So acetylation of this amino group will form its corresponding N-acetylated metabolite. Now we should remember here the clonazepam is therapeutically active, whereas the N-acetylated metabolite of clonazepam is therapeutically inactive. So it is reducing the toxicity of this particular drug. Similarly, we have many examples of aniline, procainamide, sulfanilamide, isoniazid and histamine which is bearing this primary amino functionality can easily undergo the acetylation reaction, and it will convert these active drugs into their inactive metabolites. Now the last reaction under phase 2 is the methylation. Now this is, it is not that much important, but this is a minor pathway for the drug metabolism. So some drugs, though it is a minor, but some drugs can also undergo the methylation biotransformation, having the examples like catechol, phenols, amines, N-heterocyclics and the thiol compounds. So what happens here, the methylation of the substrate is happening. So the S-adenosyl methionine, which we abbreviate as SAM. So this SAM will activate the methyl group, and then activated methyl group will be transferred to the substrate or the drug by the cytoplasmic and microsomal enzyme, usually the methyl transferase, which is also abbreviated as COMT. So this COMT or methyl transferase will transfer the activated methyl group into the drug moiety, and then it will be methylated. So here again, similar to the acetylation, we should remember methylation as such will not improvise the hydrophilicity or water solubility of the drug. However, the methylation will help to convert the active drug into their inactive form, and hence that will reduce the toxicity. So this is the methylation. So we have an example of methylation here, norepinephrine. You can see the norepinephrine has the amino group. Similarly, the dopamine also have the amino group. Only here in dopamine, R is replaced with hydrogen. If it is hydroxyl, it will be norepinephrine. So with the help of this COMT enzyme, right, the activation of methyl group and then transfer of methyl group, methylation of the substrate or the drug. So norepinephrine, which is active, can be converted to its therapeutically inactive form normetanephrine. Normetanephrine is the inactivated form of norepinephrine, and similarly the dopamine can be converted to 3-methoxytyramine. So this is an inactive form of the dopamine. So this is how the drug will get metabolized into its inactive form by the methylation reaction. So this is all about the phase 2 kind of biotransformation, which are again very important, especially the glucuronidation and the sulfate conjugation, and other kind of reactions are also important to some extent because some of the drugs can also undergo such kind of biotransformation. So with this we have completed the phase 1 and phase 2 reactions. In the next session we will discuss various factors affecting the drug metabolism. Thank you.